What do high salaries, remote working, flexible hours, and free food all have in common? They can be found in the tech industry. And the best part, you don't have to be able to code to land one of these jobs. Hey, what's up? I'm Adam if you're new here, and if you're returning, then you know what's good. Let's talk why 2024 is your year to get into tech and how to get started along that journey. Starting my tech career in 2020 changed the course of my life. I mean, it allowed me to work from different cities around the world, right, as a remote worker. It allowed me to save, spend, and invest more because of the salary that I was getting. It allowed me to meet really interesting and highly intelligent people at conferences and at talks and at tech events. And it gave me opportunities to use my skills and interests in a challenging way. But I know from the outside looking in, it can all seem a little bit mysterious and actually quite confusing at times. So let's just unpack that here so that you can start your journey in 2024 and land your first tech job. So let's start off with the fact that I can almost guarantee there's a job that aligns with your interests and your skills, or at least an industry that you want to go into. The sheer variety of tech jobs is actually kind of insane, right? And sometimes you don't know this until you're in the industry and you're looking around like, whoa. For example, I work as an engineer, but breakdown engineer, you could be a network engineer, a site reliability engineer, a security engineer, a cloud engineer. But even if you don't want to do that side with the programming and the architecting, you might be a UX designer, right? You might be a researcher for products. You could be an agile coach. I didn't even know what an agile coach was until I started in this industry. We haven't even got into sales and marketing and even developer advocacy, which all can fall under the umbrella of tech. The point that I want to make is that there is something for you. Whether you like being in the code and you like breaking things down and solving problems in that sense, or you like design. So not only are the roles varied, but the industries are varied. Almost every company has a tech department, or they have to outsource their tech, which means it's not just your Apples, your Microsofts, your AWS. It's banking, it's healthcare, it's NGOs, it's education, it's e-commerce, which means you can align, again, your interests in that sense with a technical position or with a job in tech. So whilst that sounds very exciting, I know you may be thinking, but where do I get started? If there are so many options, how do I narrow that down? And it's a perfectly valid question that a lot of us struggle with and can actually be the first hurdle, like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do, so I'm just going to stop here. Which is why I'm going to call on one of my favorite tools of 2023, or to be honest, maybe in the last 5 years, ChatGPT. So you can consider ChatGPT your AI assistant, your artificial intelligence assistant, and it's free for you to use. You just need to create an account. What you're going to do here is you're going to type in your interests, your skills, your experiences, and potentially your ambition, like things that you see yourself doing in the future. You're going to type that in and you're going to ask Chat to tell you what kind of roles in tech would align with this configuration, like would align with my interests and skills. And it's going to give you options. And just this alone, gives you a starting point to start exploring things, right? Because now that you have some names, you have some basic understanding of some of these roles, you can dig deeper. You can do your own research. You can look at days in the lives and find people online who are talking about these types of jobs. This right here is a really big game changer. So now that you have an idea about the type of role that you're going to be interested in, the next step is actually to acquire the theoretical knowledge for that particular position. And again, you're thinking, well, there are lots of options out there. That's actually a really good thing because all of us learn differently, right? Like the way that I learn and the structure that I need will vary from what you need and the next person. The beauty of tech is that unlike other high-paying jobs like law and medicine, you don't actually need a degree to work in tech. Even in a technical position like a site reliability engineer, you don't need it. That being said, let's consider some of the learning routes then that exist. You have the degree or the master's set, which for some people is going to be very useful. They like the university setting. And if you have the funds and the time for that particular route, it can be a very good option. But we also have things like boot camps, very condensed periods of time where you learn the need to knows of whatever subject that you're going to go down. For example, if you're going to be a cloud engineer, then for 12 to 16 weeks of this boot camp, you'll be immersed in all things that are to do with cloud engineering, to do with architecting in the cloud and deploying applications in the cloud. But perhaps you're somebody who really likes going down the self-taught route. Like you like crafting out your own curriculum and really structuring things that align perfectly with you around your timetable. Maybe you have a job, a full-time job, and so you need to work things around that perfectly, or you're very interested in specific things, specific topics, specific skill sets, and you craft your own curriculum. There are also, of course, online courses like the one that I created for becoming an SRE, which allow you to follow typically in your own time if they're self-paced. So you have that element of the kind of self-taught aspect, but you have more structure. So it aligns more like a degree, for example, because there is a curriculum for you to follow that has been outlined by somebody who has the skill sets or has the background in teaching or experiencing that particular role. Then you have the apprenticeship route, which is great because you get to learn on the job, right? These can be quite challenging to get a hold of because they're quite competitive, but if you can land one, they can be an amazing way to get the experience hands-on whilst you're learning the theory. And so pick a route that works for you. And if you're not quite sure of your learning style yet, look back at your experiences through school, through college, through university, if you've been down those routes, and think about how you've acquired knowledge. What's been the things that resonated with you and things that you found quite challenging? Maybe you don't like books. Maybe studying out of a textbook was something that you really disliked, but you enjoyed listening to people speak. So maybe a course with videos is going to be something for you versus maybe just a textbook. So the next thing is actually about experience and getting that hands-on experience in the tools, the methodologies, the frameworks that you'll be employing in this particular role. You'll find that in tech and when you're applying for jobs, experience ranks very, very high. People want to know that not only do you know things theoretically, but you know how to implement, you know how to work with these tools and these methodologies. So there are three main ways I want to talk about in terms of getting experience. The first is projects, right? Now you can do an unlimited amount of projects, and this is why they're great. There's no gatekeeping, there's no barrier. You can pick projects, especially projects that align with the job that you want, and build them out. And the key thing here is projects that align with the job that you want. Sometimes people do all these projects that they see online on YouTube and so forth, but they don't link closely to the jobs that they're going to apply for. In which case you have this nice portfolio, but it doesn't really link to the job description, right? And the requirements of the things that you're after. This is why I think it's very important to start looking at the job descriptions of the jobs that you want on things like LinkedIn or Google Job Search before you start going down this route. I know it seems really early on to be looking at job descriptions before you actually started building projects, but it will inform the path that you go down and ensure that you are building skills that link to the needs of the market right now and that you're not learning things that may be outdated or not really relevant. So where do you find these projects? Well, YouTube is an amazing resource for that, and a lot of them will be walkthroughs. Some of the books that are tied to these roles also have projects. You can check out people's LinkedIn where they're talking about the projects that they're doing or making suggestions. We can always go back to ChatGPT and ask Chat to give us some project ideas based on the skills that we want to learn, based on our job descriptions that we have. As you can see, there's a number of places that you can get project ideas. The next way to get hands-on experience is internships, whether they are paid or unpaid. I know most of us would obviously prefer a paid internship, but it's so important to get hands-on experience that sometimes, and maybe I'm gonna get a bit of flack for saying this, but you forego the pay, even if for a short period of time, or accept a reduced pay to get that experience, right? Like when I first started in the industry, my pay was significantly below the average, right? So I'd finished the boot camp style learning, and then I went into my first job, and it was a reduced salary compared to the industry standard. However, getting that job, getting that experience, working in production, having hands-on with these tools was, after that, my pay, like I've spoken about in other videos, tripled. But I had to take that on. Like sometimes it feels like a step back, but it's not. You just have to understand that where I am in the market and my skill sets and my experience, I may have to give a little before I can get what I need. And that's okay. I mean, if you're watching this and you can pay your interns, so do so. It really just relieves a lot of pressure and stress. And the final route for getting hands-on experience is the apprenticeship route, which we spoke about earlier, and like how you learn and acquire these skills. And because it's the hands-on and the theory at the same time, you are getting that experience, you're building out your projects, your portfolio, you're building out the tools that you've worked with. The next thing I really want to talk about is tracking your progress along this journey, because honestly, it is a complex and it's non-linear, this journey about acquiring the skills needed, the experience and understanding to break into tech, right? Like you will have highs and you will have lows. But having a tracker, having a system in place where you can see what you're up to, right? You can track your projects, track your applications, you know, even tracking things that you find out about the industry so that you can recall them in an interview. Like, oh, yes, I was reading this article actually about how AI is impacting the finance industry as you go to apply for maybe a position in a finance company, an apprenticeship position. You notice that if you've got this all kept in a centralized place that you can tap into, not only will you feel like you're moving forward because you have this collection of information and stats on yourself, but it's easier to recall. So how do you do this? Well, you can use things like Excel to track things like your coding time or your projects and things like that. Or you can use systems like Notion, which give you a lot more flexibility and allow you to do things like that. There's also the digital tech planner that I created that allows you to track like your working hours, your project hours, applications, thoughts and ideas that you have about projects that you want to do in the future or directions that you want to go in. There's also templates for you and places to schedule your work and reviews. Make sure you leverage the power of tracking. One thing I also want to talk about is learning in public. Now, I'm finding myself going back to this point about luck over and over in videos because it is rearing its head in so many aspects of life. But when you learn in public, i.e. you are on your journey into tech, and maybe you're talking about it on TikTok or YouTube or LinkedIn, people can be involved in your journey, right? They can see what's going on. You don't want to wait until you're looking for the job to start being active on, say, something like LinkedIn. Start now. Make a post on LinkedIn about the journey that you're about to embark on, right? That you're interested in UX design. Start following people and accounts who are also in this space. Interact with their content. Leave comments. Reach out to them, right? No one really wants a cold message. Like, you can do so, but if you pop out of the blue on somebody and be like, I'd like your help on something, there is going to be a layer of like a barrier there effectively that's like, I don't know who you are and you're asking me for something. Versus if you're genuinely interested in that person, you've been interacting with them, with their comments, maybe you've even been using the resources they've already put out, and then you go to talk to them and you have a common ground effectively, things to already talk about, and then you ask for something or you even offer your services, that's a very different connection and can actually increase the likelihood of you being successful when you are trying to network and get opportunities in that way. There's a lot going on in the tech world right now. It's challenging, it's scary, it's exciting, but I want as many people as possible to grab a hold of this opportunity, right? This opportunity to really change your life in so many ways by leveraging the growth in tech and the expansion and the need for different people. We need people with different ideas, with different viewpoints, with different experiences in tech to help shape the future of it. I'll leave a number of resources in the description for you to get a hold of, for you to try out, things that you might want to look into deeper, and videos on my tech channel as well that go into a little bit more depth about certain things. I'll see you in the next video.